You're watching the Tanya Mullings Show here on the BarnBurner TV network on Zingo TV channel 250. Please remember to download both the BarnBurner and Zingo TV apps in their respective app stores on iOS and Android devices. While you download, make sure you rate and leave a comment because both apps are free. Zingo TV also available on Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire and Fire TV sticks, Roku and Roku sticks, and also on all smart TVs 2016 forward. And tonight we have rising soul singer, songwriter, musician. He's only 20 years old and already well-rounded, out of Birmingham. I'm telling you, y'all got to watch out for this artist. He goes by the name Vincent Darby and he is on fire. Welcome to the show, Vincent.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me.
Oh my goodness. Let me tell you, I first have to shout out Denise. And I say, thank you, Jesus, that I opened that email I got of your tune. Still here we are. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. I'm telling you, being on radio, you get so much music and it's easily, you can bypass an email and miss it. And I was like, I'm going to be totally honest with you. That was my first introduction to your music. And I have been playing that song since I received it. It's like, and then to hear you're 20 years old, like, come on, like, really?
Yeah, man, 2000 baby. I was born in the millennium. So yeah, great.
Wow. Holy cow. So you got to tell me, like, you got the R&B flow going on, but I know there's Jamaican heritage in your family. So you got to tell me the background of your family, your parents.
Right. So my dad is a typical white man from England, and my mom is Jamaican. So she was born here, but she was raised in Jamaica. So she grew up first bulk of her life in St. Mary, so Highgate St. Mary, because that was where my grandfather was from as well. So like she grew up like around them areas. And then my grandmother, she is from St. Andrew, from a tiny, tiny little place called Bloxburg. And it's quite, it was literally the other day we were trying to find it on Google Maps, and it's so country that you can't even find it.
Like that.
Yeah, it's like, honestly, you're there on Google Maps and you're scrolling, and you just can't find it. And it's like we was just trying so hard. But yeah, so my mum grew up there for like the first bulk of her life, like her and her older brother, and they came back to England. And my mum done a bit of everything, a bit of modeling, got to see the world and brought back stories and stuff. And then she had my older brother and then me. And it's been great because I feel like even though I was brought up here in England, having like that Jamaican heritage and the fact my mum was raised there is literally like being raised by a Jamaican woman just with a British accent. That is honestly my mum. It's great. Like, it's great.
And you get the discipline. Yep. Mommy, I got nothing to say. Yep. Well, she did well.
She did. She raised both my brother and I single-handedly. My brother was the first person in my family, on both sides of the family, to go to university, and I'm the first one to be doing this. So
wow,
she done well.
So your music, like, is it somebody in your family that you get the musical background from, or it's just you doing it?
To be honest, music kind of like runs in the family, but no more than like what music normally does in a family. So like my grandfather, he was a hospital radio DJ. So like in England, I don't know whether they do it the same in Canada. I'm not entirely sure, but I know what they used to do. They used to have like the community radios that were stationed in the hospitals. And my granddad was actually a DJ on one of them stations. So growing up as a kid, I was really exposed to a lot of music. So I would be around like, you know, reggae, old soul, old R&B. And it was just, to be honest, it was just the sounds that I would hear as a kid. And I was like, yo, this is incredible to me. It would be like anything. Like I remember even like watching like the old VHSs, like at my grandparents' house, and I would just hear the music. And it was like over anything, it was just the music that would always just grip me. But yeah, like my mom would love to be able to say that I got the talent from her, but I'm not quite sure about that one.
I just said you're disciplined. When you get off here, you're in trouble for that one.
She'll never know. It's great.
You know, I gotta say again about the discipline. It's 1 a.m. where you are, and I appreciate you staying up for this interview because we're 5 hour difference. So thank you for
Honestly,
that.
it's cool.
And
Like the majority of my work is like that side anyway. So like this is like
yeah,
my clock. This is like me awake, normal, ready to.
yeah. Well, most of the time musicians do stay up, but I mean, you can interview some of them at 4 o'clock and they miss the interview. So that's dedication. I'm just saying, 1 o'clock in the morning, you're up and you're ready to go.
100%, 100%. That's
So
what it is.
yeah. When did you like know you wanted to sing? Like, how old were you? Like, a lot of people say they were so young. And when did you know, okay, I can sing?
About 5 years old. So we went on a family holiday to one of the islands just off like the coast of Africa called Tenerife. So it's like in the Canary Islands. It's a Spanish thing. It's very British. Um, and we was in a karaoke bar, and my older cousin, she can sing. Like she's got a really good voice. And I would hear her sing on the karaoke machines, and I was like, yo, I want to do that. So I'd get up on there, literally 5 years old. The microphone was as big as me, and I'd be singing, but she would read the words to me because I couldn't read at this point, and
Yeah.
we would go on, and it was so great. Like, and that was where I really learned, and really where I knew that's what I wanted to do. It was so funny because obviously being 5 years old, I'd literally go up on the stage. People would expect, just a typical 5-year-old. But no word of a lie, I used to leave with more money than I went with because people would just give me money at like 5, be like, yo, just keep singing, just keep singing. I was like, okay.
Wow. No, that's good. That's good. You know your work now. They better fling the dollars coming. That's why
Always.
I said when I heard you, like at 20, I know obviously you have to start early, but you just sound like you've been in, like you're vocal, and it's like, wow. It's just I just can't. I keep stressing your age because of how you sound and you're well-rounded and everything. It's like, wow. I actually bucked up a video on YouTube of you singing at last with the afro and the headphones. I was like, oh, how cute is he? How old were you there?
I think I was like 13. I'd just done like a competition, and the prize was to be like in the studio and get to do like a proper video. And
Yeah.
that was a lot of fun. That was a lot of fun. That was a lot of fun.
So yeah, so when you're doing karaoke and that, did you ever go in, like when I was younger, I went in all of those karaoke contests. Did you ever do any of those karaoke contests?
I've done a few of them, but to be honest, I didn't really do too many like contests as a kid. Like because
Yeah.
I was kind of in like a weird position as a kid, like, yo, like what is it that I'm really doing? Like, is these karaoke contests really where it's at? And it was like I just enjoyed singing more than anything. It was never really like for the competition element of it. And so it was like even growing up, I only done like 3 or 4 competitions because it was just, I don't know, man, the competitiveness of it to me was never what drawed me to music. Like it was never the fact that, the grand prize would take home like £500 or whatever. It was never that for me. It was really just to stand there to sing and just to see people's reaction when me at like the age of like 11's on stage singing these big
Yeah.
belt, and these people are turning around like, and I used to, what my favorite thing used to be about singing in like pubs, like when I used to do like the competitions or karaoke, was that everybody would be talking really loud before I'd start singing. And then the moment that I stopped singing, it was like silent. And that was the one thing I used to love more than
Yeah.
anything. It
It's
was
one of
that.
these like, whoa, that's coming out of that kid.
Yeah, it was great. Honestly, that was my favorite thing about all of it. That was my favorite thing from day one. That was always the thing that I loved.
Yeah, why I bring up the competition, because I mean, like I said, I did some of those, and some of them it's like if you feel like you have what it takes as an artist, you might not feel you don't need those. But the reason why I say that, and I don't like to really compare artists, but I will compare one situation where you're concerned. You have a good team behind you now, but you reminded me for some reason when I heard your music, Dalton Harris, Dalton Harris,
Yeah.
right? I played him from day one, 10 years ago, like on radio.
Yeah.
And he was one of those artists on my program. I say, bringing you the artists that need to be heard and should get the respect they deserve. Nothing but the wickedest vocalists out there. So when I saw him go on that platform, he evolved from here to here,
Yeah.
vocally, and like the world knew who he was. And when I heard you, that's who I thought of right away. I feel that, not saying you have to go in those competitions, but I'm just saying, because sometimes they say the competitions don't help you. It doesn't. But I do see you as one of those artists evolving to that level.
Honestly, that's really, really nice. That's really nice. I thank you. Because I remember the same as everyone else in England, especially seeing the whole Dalton Harris thing, like on X Factor, because being Jamaican was like enough for me anyway. Being half Jamaican, I'm like, yo, I'm gonna fight for the country, man. Like, yo, like there's no two which way about it. And week after week after week, he would come out and he would shell it. It was incredible. And I literally just remember like all of my friends being like, yo, you should do this and you should do that. And it was the one time I remember every week we used to watch it at my nan's house. And I used to sit, not vexed, but I used to be like, oh, I want to do this. And then it would finish. I'm like, I'm so glad I don't do X Factor. But it was like, he was the first time that I saw someone on X Factor that I was like, you know what? This person is a vocalist before anything else. And it was incredible to see. And it's like, I have like the most utmost respect for him. It's like one of my friends was on X Factor just gone in December, and they brought Dalton back. And he performed his new single. And at the time I was in New York, but like I remember FaceTiming my friend, and I actually got to speak to Dalton, and he was one of the coolest people I've ever seen.
I know him. Yeah, he's such a down-to-earth kid. He's such a good kid. That's why I was so happy for him when I saw that happen for him. I was like, because what it is there's so much talent in Jamaica. It's like everywhere. And you just need sometimes that one little platform that it's like, bam, and he made Jamaica so proud.
Yeah, it's like right now we're like protege with like Lila Ike and everyone on that roster. It's like it just takes one person to push it forward, and then everything explodes. And it's like you say, Jamaica has so much talent. It's such a small place, but there's no half measures. There's nobody who has Jamaican blood does anything by half measure. It's you either get your all or you get nothing. And Jamaica has produced so much incredible talent that it's like being, half Jamaican. It makes me so proud to be able to say, yo, that's where it is. Like as a child of the diaspora, it's like, yo, this is so proud. I'm so proud to listen to this music and be immersed within this music and have this music around me when I'm at the point where I'm at. Like it's incredible.
Well, you got somebody on your team who is a good friend of mine, and I have to big him up because he knows talent when he sees it. Big respect to Courtney John. Indeed. Always. Yes.
That man's a genius. That's all I can say.
Isn't he?
Like I first met him when I was young, like when I was a lot younger, and even from then, I just remember him being like, yo, he's got something, and he just persistently was always like, yo, like, but like with people around, like the right people around, like he was involved without being involved, if that makes sense. Like he would just be like, yo, he needs like this, that. He would sort things out, and honestly, I can't express my gratitude towards him. Like he is one of the most incredibly talented people as well. Like the voice of him, it's like
I know, like when he started, he was doing like the R&B, and of course he's there in Jamaica. He brings us the reggae vibes, but he originally was like your vibe, so he knows what's going on. Of course, family, Uncle Bears Hammond. It's in the genes, right?
I mean, I wish I had a dip at that gene pool. Like my gene pool's like bakers. I think my great grandparents were bakers. I mean, Christmas is great. When it comes to Christmas cake, we've got that down to a T. But now with I wish we had a Bears in my family.
Yeah. Well, you got his nephew, and that's big right there. Direction alone is a blessing. Yes. So now, have you been performing a lot around? Well, I know COVID. But before COVID, were you out there performing a lot and letting people know? I know you have an EP out, but I just wanted to say, have you been performing out live a lot?
Literally, so 2019 was a crazy year for me. Like honestly, was crazy. To start the year off, I was 18. So my birthday's in April. I had to think about that then. So my birthday's in April. So I I got on a flight the start of January 2019, sorry. And then I done some work out in Canada. And then I got to support Alessia Cara, who's like
Okay.
Canada's national sweetheart, which was
She's from where I'm from. She's from Brampton, where I live.
yeah, I got family in Brampton. Like a lot of my family are also Scarborough sides, but like I got family in like Mississauga, Brampton, all
Nice.
over. Like, yo, when I say Toronto is my second home, I know that city better than I know London. I know
Yeah.
that's no lie. That is no lie. I know that city like the back of my hand. But yeah, so I was really, really lucky to get to support, like open up for her. And then a few months went by. I done my first festival in England. I done a few more gigs, and then I got to tour America at 19 years old, which was the most incredible experience that I just think, even right now, I think about it and I'm like, there's no way that really happened. Like that was just some crazy dream. And you talk about it with such confidence that people might believe you if you keep going at it. But it's like from time to time, I look at photos and I'm like,
Was that your, oh, you're pausing on me. We got a little pause going on. Hopefully he comes back. Yeah, it was pausing on me, your screen. Did you, on that tour, was it you alone or were you opening or it was your tour?
so I was a support act. So I was a support act for two guys from Toronto, actually, called Locals Only Sound. And
Okay.
I think we done like 28 shows between like 20, I can't remember.
Got a little pausing going on again. You're watching the Tanya Mullings Show right here on the BarnBurner TV network, and I'm talking to rising star Vincent Darby. I keep talking because for some reason I keep getting a pause on you. I don't know if I'm pausing on my side, but
It's this internet, honestly. It's like whenever there's like bad weather, it just
yeah,
uses the internet in England. Like it doesn't make any sense, but
yeah.
it is.
But that's okay. We'll work with it. So I should go back to here. I'm jumping if you're touring now in 2019. When is the first time you did hit a stage? At what age?
9 years old, nine, and I have again, this is the craziest story. So when I was 9, I was the open act for Flowrider on his UK leg of the tour. And that was just, again, another moment in my life that just doesn't make any sense, but it happened.
Wow. Did that, working with him, and did that open some doors for you, like getting to know some other people on that side of the industry? Or
A lot of doors. I mean, being 9, a lot of people were kind of like, yeah, he's very, very young, which is understandable because I was at 9 years old. Like, that's way too young to be doing that. But
yeah,
it opened a lot of doors. And one of those doors opened to lead to Courtney. So, like it worked out for the right way and everything really worked out. That's how I really got in touch with my management team. They heard about me and they was like, yo, this kid, like someone, I'm not exactly sure of who the people were and like all the ins and outs, but like it kind of, someone led me to him and it just worked. It just worked out and it was incredible.
yeah. I was just asking that because that's like a Bow Wow story. He raps and goes and sings backstage to Snoop Dogg, and then bam.
Now, if I wanted to meet Flowrider, but I was way too nervous. I was too scared. I turned around to them and they looked at me. They was like, "Do you want to go meet him?" I was like, "No."
That's so funny. That's too cute. I know it must be overwhelming. And you know what it is? It's also probably overwhelming for you because, I mean, you're just coming and you're so young and then you're like right amongst this person that's up here. And yet it's normal to like probably even feel like a pressure, like, oh, this is a lot, you know?
Yeah, to be honest, I never really felt pressure. I think I was just more excited than anything. I think at that age, like, it's so funny because I literally remember the day like to a T. So I went to school in the morning and I got like, so my mom, not real strict, but my mom's kind of strict. Like, so she was like, let me just treat him. And I remember having jam sandwiches, which was such a rarity for me as a kid. Like, I can't express that. Like, my mom would never do that, but she was like, yo, cool, whatever. I got picked up at lunchtime I then went into like the city centre, and I remember it was the first concert I'd ever been to as well. Like I'd never been to a concert before that. Actually, had I? I'd never been to this venue. So I'd been to like one concert before, but it was never on that scale of, being like so involved in the whole space. And it was the most surreal feeling. Like everything about it, I just remember, and I will never be able to forget that series of emotions was just next level.
Yeah. So you go back to mom being disciplined. So you really had to do your schoolwork and get all that done before you wanted to get serious in this thing, right?
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. So at 9 years old, obviously, both my mom and I had the conversations. Like, I even said to my mom, I was like, Mom, I don't really want to do it. Because, growing up as a kid, like, I was so exposed. Again, this is what I mean, like, with my grandparents. I was so exposed to, like, the old side of music. So, like, like the Jackson 5s and people like that. Those people who grew up as child stars. And it was just never something for me that I wanted. Like, I enjoyed, like, just going to school in the morning, getting my head down, working hard at school. Like, I loved that. And I didn't want that to really change. And my mom was the same. And she was like, yo, Vinny, you're going to do this. You're going to do it at a time when you're ready as a person. And you're not at that point. No one's at that point at 9 years old. Like, you're not even 10. You're not even double digits yet. There's no way that I'm going to put you in front of those people for them to do whatever around your career so early. Like, the right people will come and they'll come, but right now isn't that moment. And I was like, you know what, like, I completely agree with everything you're saying. So it was so nice to actually be in that position. So yeah, I put music on not on a back burner. Like, I still practiced. I still did a few gigs here and there. I did a couple things, but I put it at the side. And then when I turned 16, that was when the first time I went to Jamaica, and well, not the first time, but it was the first time I went to Jamaica to like work. And that's where a lot of my music really began. That's where it all stemmed from.
Yeah, you also play instruments, don't you?
Yeah, I do. So I play the keys and I play guitar as well, which is something that, to be honest, I remember I got a guitar as a kid for Christmas the one year, and that was so dope. Like, that was so cool. And yeah, I just never really put it down after that. And then the keys was something I remember. So my grandmother's Jehovah's Witness, and I remember her like sisters. She was getting rid of a piano. I literally remember coming home from school, walking into like the room that I'm in right now, and there was a huge upright piano in here. And I looked at my mom and I looked at my dad. I was like, how did this happen? Like, that doesn't make sense. This wasn't here when I left. Like, it was incredible, like, to have that. But I mean, we had to get rid of it because it just took up way too much space.
Yeah.
It's cool.
You came home and you saw gold in your living room.
It was incredible.
Did you play by ear or did you take lessons?
Everything that I did is by ear. So guitar, piano, and the voice. I never had any lessons growing up. Like, I never did.
Wow, I was just gonna ask you if you did vocal training, because the way you just do them runs to me. I listen to you and you just sound natural. Like, you can kind of tell one vocalist to the next that it just comes for you. So I was wondering if you take vocal training or you just do it. It just comes out of you.
I literally have had like a couple vocal lessons, but that's been recently, like within the last 6 months. And that's only because after like 20 years of obviously singing, there might be some things that I might be doing that's probably not the right thing to be doing. So it's just kind of to iron those things out while I'm still young. But growing up as a kid, I never really had vocal lessons. I had like 1 or 2 lessons on like the breathing techniques and stuff like that. So I wasn't doing the wrong thing. But I remember the vocal coach was like, yo, to say you've never had any lessons, you actually are doing the right things. And I was like, yeah, because that's what happens when you grow up listening to like Sam Cooke and, people like that, and Marvin Gaye and Donny Hathaway. Like, you're going to grow up singing correctly. Like, that. It's like, I wasn't even brought up in the church. Like I said, I was like kind of like Jehovah's Witness, but it was never like the church that people talk about, like when they're like, yo, you must have been brought up in church. Like, like, if you've ever heard Jehovah's Witnesses songs, especially when I used to go like 10 years ago, that they weren't no Pentecostal rhythms, not the ones that I was singing anyway in this area.
No. I was just going to ask you, who are some of your favorite artists? You said a few there. like in any genre?
Well, honestly, so growing up as a kid, like I was so exposed to everything. So there was something just invigorating about like, you know, like Donny Hathaway, Luther Vandross again, um, Marvin Gaye, Teddy Pendergrass, all of these like old soul was like the thing for me that was like, yo, this is like kind of the vibe that I'm on. And then I listened to so much reggae, obviously with both of my grandparents being from Jamaica. Reggae was something that was just huge within their house. So it was like, it would be, you know, one day it would be just pure Bob Marley, next day it would be Sir Barry Salmon, and next day it would be like Gregory Isaac. It'd be everything. And it was just things like that was just things that you just can't buy. And that was the most incredible experience. And that's really what brought me up. And then, as I was saying earlier with my mom, so my mom traveled a lot. So she lived in New York in the late 80s. So the music that she loved was like, you know, like that, the soul to soul, loose ends, and all of that funky R&B sound. So I grew up listening to that as well because she was big on it. And then my dad, my voice gone weird then. My dad being obviously from England, he loved, like my dad being like this typical white man, he loves rock. So like I remember growing up as a kid, like loving Metallica, Guns N' Roses, Aerosmith. Like I was obsessed with just any type of music that anyone would let me listen to. I would just be obsessed with it.
I'm sitting there smiling because it's like I'm mixed like you. It's just first, my dad's Jamaican, my mom's Canadian.
Yeah. Like normally that's what people ask. They're like, when I'm like, oh yeah, I'm mixed, and they're like, oh, so is your dad from Jamaica? I'm like, nah, my mom. And they're like, what? Because it's just not many people have this mix. Like I know like one or two people, like my friends whose parents are the same as me, and it's rare to find, but it's cool like growing up like that and being like exposed to like two different cultures. Like I mean, the culture that I grew up with predominantly was obviously the Jamaican side. So growing up as a family, we were so tight knit that like it was incredible to grow up like that, like having that Jamaican culture. And then my dad's side of the family, like truthfully, I'm still trying to figure out what the culture is, but it is what it is. Like, you know, after 20 years, I'm still figuring it out.
Yeah, you know what's funny is the reason why you're so drawn to the Jamaican culture is because of the music. And
Yeah.
I'm the same way. Everybody always says, oh, you're on your dad's side, and how's your mom, and what's going on over here? And it's not, it's the music. It's the music that draws you. You embrace the culture because it's the music that you're drawn to.
100%. And I mean, like, again, growing up like the way that I did with like my grandparents and my nan and my granddad, it was like they would have so much things that would just be so like synonymous of a typical Jamaican household that you literally would walk through the door and you would feel like you was in like Mandeville or somewhere. Like it just felt so cultural at every moment. Like my grandmother only got rid of the plastic.
You smell the ackee and saltfish I cook?
Yes, all the time. Listen, Sunday best was always playing, always. Every Sunday, the whole family's round for some chicken or something. Every Saturday, it's soup. I got the soup down to a T. Every Christmas is the rum cake. Birthday, everything. I tell everybody this, like from a youth, I've been immune to rum. Rum, don't touch me no more. After the way that they put rum on the rum cake, the rare. Listen, I can tell the difference between the rare nephew that comes straight from Jamaica and the rare nephew that come from here because they taste. And to everyone else, they're like, nah, that just tastes like just demon water. I'm like, nah, different taste. Two different.
You know the difference. I know the difference.
I'm telling you, man, I might have this British accent, but don't let that fool you. Don't let that fool you.
That's why I say I get the rum cake down there. It drunk me.
So my granddad obviously being like West Indian, like
lightweight over here.
Yeah, no problem. But my grandfather, he like growing up, like he had like wasn't the best with his health, so he was in and out of hospitals and stuff. And I remember as the grandchildren, we used to go and deliver like cakes to like the specialists that would help him. And we used to have to say to them like, yo, be careful with the cake. If you are driving, don't eat it because you will be over the limit. And they used to look at us like, I used to look back like I'm being serious. And they used to smell the cake and they're like, how much is in this? And I'm like, enough.
You got a cold to clear that right up.
But that's what that was for, man. I'm telling you, I love the fact that that's how I was like brought up. Like it's like something that I'm always gonna like instill into my kids as well. And like a lot
Yeah.
of my friends as well, being like from West Indian, we
Yeah.
all are very similar. So like I went to a performing arts school like in central Birmingham. So where I live here is a really predominantly white area. There's like 3 or 4 black people here. And like we were all like my age anyway, and was all like the same year. We're all real close. So it's like us, like we like all have like the same mindset. And then I moved into like I went to school in a city where there was a lot more black people. And honestly, it was so funny because it was like there was things that I used to say to like my white friends that they would never get. And like then my black friends, like the West Indian friends, they'd get it straight away. Like for example, like when one of my friends would be saying, "Oh, yo, I got a stomach ache," I'm like, "Yo, you just need to drink some tea." And they're looking at me like, "Tea?" And I say that to my black friends, and my black friends are like, "Oh yeah, touch me. That's what it is." And it was so nice to have that. And it was like when my friends would have one little piece of cold, I'm like, "Yo, you need that. You need that. Rubbing alcohol on your chest. You're gonna be good tomorrow morning. You're blessed." And I'm like,
Everything clear up. You're good to go.
yeah, on your back, one little Vicks, some vapor rub, some rubbing alcohol on your back. You're good the next day. I'm telling you, you're all good. And then my white friends will be like, "What?" But yeah,
They don't know nothing about that. They go and buy something at the store.
some mad chemicals, man. All you need sometimes is some sorrel. You need some ginger, some
Yeah.
lemon, honey, vapor rub, and
Yeah.
rubbing alcohol. And you're good. You're good to go. Corona wear.
And garlic, kill off anything.
Garlic.
You were talking about going to music school when you're in high school, so that must have really helped groom you as well, being able to be around that.
Yeah, it was. So like as I said, like before the school that I went to I was the only person really who was like about it with music. And it was like my music teacher, she really like loved me. She took me under her wing. She was like, "Yo, if there's anything that I can do to help, like I want to help you." So then when I left there, she was heartbroken, man. And it was so sad. I remember going, and I remember her crying when I left, because it was like this place where I went was a predominantly sports school. Like we had like the big AstroTurfs, like the big like 3G pitches, and we had like rugby, we had like lacrosse, we have golf, we had everything. Like it was for sports, and I hated sports. Like my older brother now, he's like a semi-professional footballer, so he loved it. Me, I hated it. But then when I left to go to this performing arts school, it was like walking into a world of people that loved the same thing as you, and it gave me like so much more determination from the point where I already was, because it was like, yo, I now need to prove to these people that I'm on the same par as everybody else here, because I never had to prove that at the other school. So then to go to this place where there was so many talented people was like the next level for me. And it was really what made me go, yo, this is exactly what you're supposed to do. Even if you've ever had a moment of doubt, that you know now that this is what it is. You're around like-minded people. You have like-minded friends who love the same things as you. And it's just like what you needed at that very moment.
Yeah. And then now, okay, so you went there, and now tell me the journey, well, the making and your journey to Jamaica for the EP.
So it was about it would have been the December of 2017, and no, 2016 even. And I was just writing loads and loads and loads and loads. And then we were just, like me and my management team were kind of just bouncing ideas at each other. We was just going over stuff, and we was like, some people was like, yeah, some people was like, nah, like, let's perfect some of these songs. So we perfected them. And then my grandfather was like, yo, I really want to go back to Jamaica. Like, I really want to go back. I really want to go see family. I want to go and see the house that I lived in. I want to go and see my mom and dad's grave. And we was like, yo, let's go. Like, I ain't going to say no to a trip to Jamaica. I'm like, yo, let's sign me up. Let's go. So obviously I told my management team, and they was like, yo, well, if you're going to be in Jamaica, you're going to be on our sides. Let's get some work done. I'm like, yo, bet, like 2 in 1. So then it was February time, and me and my mom got on a flight to Jamaica. And yeah, I remember I was staying in Ochi, and it was so surreal. So like the first day we went to the studio, I knew where the studio was going to be. It was in Kingston. So obviously we had to travel the other side of the island. Now my mum, grown up in Jamaica, is like, oh, cool. Like, my mom's getting ready to come with me. And then I remember my management team came and I was like, yo, relax, man. We've got him. Like, it's cool. My mom's looking at my manager team like, you're crazy. You think I'm going to let my son travel the other side of Jamaica and he's by himself at 16? Like, I remember saying,
that not gonna work.
yeah, and then she said, you better think again. No, sir, that one's not happening. And then with a little bit of persuasion, my mom was like, all right, whatever. But it was so surreal because it was like, I literally remember getting in the car. Obviously, I knew like a couple of people. I didn't know everybody in this car. And we used the toll road from Ochi to Kingston. We was on that toll road. And it was the most surreal experience of my life because I'm in this car in Jamaica with people I don't know, but we're all going to the studio because of me. And I'm like, yeah, this is so surreal. Like, this isn't real. Like, again, another moment of my life that just doesn't make sense, but we go. And it was so funny because I remember we're driving down that freeway, well, the toll road even, and the wheel come off the car that we was in.
Oh.
And I literally remember like someone on my team turned around and was like, just please don't tell your mom that happened.
I was just gonna say, don't tell mom.
And it was so
You're not going again, trust me.
It was so funny because I remember literally, so we got there in one car and then we come back in a different car. My mom was like, that wasn't the car you left in. And I was like, yeah, no, we got a different car. There was no way that I could tell my mom, yeah, the wheel came off the car. Because my mom would not have let me go again, but it was incredible. So we got into the studio and it was the first time really that I went into a proper studio environment. And I remember someone on my team was like, if you can record a half decent song in Jamaica, you can record anywhere in the world. And I never really understood that. Like, I was like, oh, like, sure, whatever. Like, that's just the typical things that people say. Like, if you can do this here, you can do it anywhere. And then an hour into the thing, like when I'm recording one of the songs, someone walks into the studio when we're literally recording and starts going, bop, 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 you're bad,
you're
bad,
watching.
bad, over the recording. And I'm like, so now I've got to do this whole thing again. And I remember then at that moment clocked, it was like, if you can do this in Jamaica, you can do this anywhere in the world, because nowhere else in the world that's going to happen. But there was something about that energy, man, that just uplifted everything. It was incredible.
Yeah. I'm surprised they didn't say, come on, you just ruined the track.
It was so funny.
But that's the approval. I personally think Jamaica is the hardest place to impress people where music's concerned. Once you have the Jamaican people approving you, that's my dad always used to say, to be a god after that. Once you can have them listening to you and stop and look what they're doing, that says a lot about you.
Yeah, that was honestly, because that was what, again, someone on my team said. I was like, yo, if someone in Jamaica now can turn around to you and say, yo, you're good, that's a different level. Because he was like, I've been at shows where I've dashed stuff at artists that come at all. Like, I've thrown stuff at the people, said, get off the stage. Like, what are you doing? Like, they're ruthless, man. Like, there's no two which way about it. Like, if you're not going to put your 100% in it, you're going to know. And I felt like that was something that I really had to learn. And obviously, again, having a Jamaican mother, same, I honestly can't stress this enough. She might have a British accent, but yo, she is cutthroat Jamaican. My mom would have done the same thing to me. If I wasn't performing well, I'm gonna know about it. I'm gonna know, like, she's gonna let me know. And it was incredible. Like, it was really, really incredible to have that. Like, and then to go to Jamaica and have the approval of some Jamaicans. And then it gets even more crazy because it's like, with the release of this song, Still Here We Are, the first place where I had major approval was Jamaica. And I done interviews on interviews in Jamaica. And I'd have family members ringing me up from Bloxburg and places like that, being like, yo, we've just seen you on TV. Like, what? Like, you're on TV? Like, you're actually famous? I'm like, I ain't famous. And they're like, you're famous? I'm like, no, I'm not. And it kind of snowballs, and then it just spreads out to the rest of the Caribbean. And it's like, you sit there at moments, you're like, there's no way this is real again. Like, there's no way this is real. Like, well, this is such a simulation, such a sick dream. But it's like, then you realize it's actually happening, and it's just the most surreal thing.
Still Here We Are is your current song. What were the songs before that one, that one took off?
So the first song I released was Getaway, which on its own, that kind of ran off again. Like
Yeah.
literally, I was on a flight from, where was I? I was on a flight from London to Toronto, and I was just going through the radio, and Stingray Radio, literally, I remember just before I got on the plane, Stingray Radio just added me. But like, if my flight was like a week later, I would have been on I would have been on the airplane radio music, which would have been the most mind blowing experience. But it was like, so that song kind of took off by itself. Like we never pushed it because at the time I was like 18 or 19, and I think I've still been at school. I'm not entirely sure. I can't really remember. But we was like, yeah, let's just release something. Let's just test the waters. Let's just see what happens. And it was incredible because I literally remember, you know, one day just having nothing. And then I just look at like these streams going up and up and up. And it was like the Pandora, like that. I think that literally amounted to like 250,000 streams in like 3 months. And it was like, we didn't do anything. Like we literally didn't push it. We didn't do no interviews, no nothing. And that just happened. And I was like, what? And it was incredible. And then after that, I then got booked for a festival. So then we was like, yo, let's go ahead and release an EP, which was the Baby OI EP. So on there was Give Me a Reason, Getaway, and Baby OI. And that again was just so surreal. And it's like Baby OI then, that kind of just took off again in England, which was more than surreal. So it literally, I toured America. So I toured America from September till October. I come home mid-October. No, I came home November because I got on a flight early to surprise my best friend on his birthday because he thought that I wasn't going to come home. But like I was like, yo, I literally, it was so funny. So I was at Pearson Airport and I messaged him. I was like, yo, bro, I'm so sorry I can't come for your birthday. Send me where you're going because I'll try and figure something out. Like I'll try and send something there. And he's like, bless. So I already knew. Little did he know, I was on a flight home. I didn't even tell my mom. The only person who knew that I was coming home was my brother. So I literally walked through the door and my mom was upstairs. I literally remember my mom being upstairs. She come downstairs and I was like, Mom. She goes, she literally turned around and said, she's like, really, what? Because I was supposed to be there for another month, but I came home early. Yeah. And it was incredible. So I came home a little bit early and then I'd done like an interview. And then the BBC in like the West Midlands, they really, really liked Baby OI. So they made the track of the month on like the BBC network station around here. Then that spread out to the rest of the national ones. And then I was doing interviews in London and I was with somebody who I work with over here. So someone on my team over here. And we literally walk into an event, like we had to go and sign up for something. And he goes to me, he's like, I've been waiting for the right moment to tell you. And I'm like, what? He's like, I need to tell you something. I'm like, you know, when people say that you get stressed, like, it's like that we need to talk. And you're like, oh, your heart starts racing. So I'm like, oh, what's going on? He's like, BBC Radio 1 and BBC Radio 1 Extra really, really like your song and they're adding it. I looked at him, I said, you're lying. And he goes, I swear, show me the email. And I literally, I was in big public. I just remember doing big runs. I ran around. People were looking at me like, yo, this is one fool. I'm running around central London. But my heart was like, yo, there's no way this is really happening. Like, there's no way this is happening. And that happened. And I literally remember, like, my friends were ringing me up. Like, my one friend was like, yo, bro, I was in the gym. And I was like, I swear I heard your voice. I looked up. And then I saw it was actually you. And I'm like, yo, how mad is that? And it was so surreal. And I remember literally driving home from a gig. There was me, my mom, my nan, my brother and his girlfriend. We're in the car on the way home from a gig and the song came on. And I didn't know it was going to be playing. And honestly, it was the most surreal experience of my entire life to hear, you know, like BBC Radio 1, which is like growing up as a kid, that was like the staple of music. Like even, you know, like the BBC, especially for like West Indians, Jamaicans, like that's important. Like I remember telling like my grandmother about it and she was so proud of me and like the rest of my family telling everybody like, yo, how it was kind of going about. And then to actually hear it and to see my nan like actually be there in the car with us at that moment when I'm hearing it on the radio was just the most surreal experience. And it's something that I will always remember. But then, and then going forward now, we're still here we are, and that being picked up like kind of globally. And then for me to be now even talking to you is like, again, another moment that's like, yo, this is definitely a simulation, but I'm just going to keep going with it until like it's not anymore. But it's incredible.
But you're sitting here saying to me, you can't believe you're talking to me. And I'm going to be sitting here few years to come saying, I feel blessed that I got to interview him way over this day because he had it from when he was 20. And I'll be smiling over here looking like, yeah, I told you that boy's going somewhere, that one over there. So it's an honor to have you on here, sweetheart. It really is.
I really appreciate that. I really do. I really do.
So who would you, like, I know you worked in Jamaica and you did the Still Here We Are at Big Yard Studio.
Yeah.
And then you went on to do some work at Mixing Lab to finish it off.
Yeah.
And now you're down there. Huh? That was like, yeah.
Honestly, I remember walking through so when you go into the studio, like it's like the pinnacle of what you would expect the studio to look like. Like you got the big desk, you got the big speakers, but there's like a door like next to the door that you come in, and on that door there's just loads of stickers. And the one sticker that will always stick out, and to be honest, I don't really remember many of them because I was so like, what?
You're like, wow.
In Murder, She Wrote by Shaka Demus and Players, and I'm like, there's no way these people were in the same room that I'm in right now. Like there's no way that I should be in this room. Like it was just incredible. And that was the one thing that really stuck out to me. And it was like the people that we was working with, like, so we was cutting just live instruments at Mix Lab. And it was just to be sat there, to be 16 years old, to be sat there in a room with these people who definitely have got more experience than you being alive, saying like, yo, this youth's got something, like this youth's talented, this youth's got voice, he's got like what it takes, was the most surreal experience. Like it was, honestly, it was so incredible.
Yeah, when you see that, it gives you even more confidence. You walk away so you feel so more creative because it's like there's these people, like you said, who are, you know, big musicians and they believe in you. It makes you more want to work harder at your craft and come with even something bigger, you know?
Yeah, that's exactly what it
was. Yeah. Since you're down there and you're working with people, I'm sure, I know you're just getting started, but like I said, you have the quality to collab with some big artists just because of what you bring to the table. Is there anyone that you would like to collaborate, or more than one, that if you had the opportunity to today collaborate with, who would they be?
Honestly, I'd be honored to collaborate with anybody. I don't really put it out like, yo, this is the specific person I want to work with at that very moment in time, especially with artists, because I think as an artist myself, I know what it's like to walk into a space and have to then create something mentally around that space. So it's like, yo, someone wants to come and work with me, like I'm open to it. But like the people that I really want to work with at this point in my career anyway is like more so like producers. So like the people I really want to work with is like Jimmy Jam and like Terrell Lewis. Like I want to work with like the OGs of production. Like that's that for me, like it's funny because I was watching some videos earlier today. Like I was watching a few Shaka Khan videos, and I was like, yo, this is where I'm missing. Like the people don't be playing like tambourines in songs no more. Like there's no tambourines and stuff like that. There's no real instrumentation. Like people play computers. And like as cool as that is, for me, the way that I sing in the music I was brought up on wasn't that. So it's like I feel like I need to work with those people who can embody the real live sounds, because I feel like that's what kind of makes my sound go from here to like here, like sound anyway. Like I love that. Like I love the use of like live instruments, and I don't know, there's just something so incredible to me, especially sonically, about an imperfect sound. So it's like, for example, in Getaway, at the very end, like when I'm going, got feeling away, and it's a heartbreak you, like the horns in the background are so, to me, they're so perfect because they're not computer animated sounds, they're real sounds. And it's like, for me, that's what elevates everything. And it's like, we try to add as much as that when we like create music. So it's like, some of my songs, there's like live guitars being played in it. And then there's like some songs where there's like live keys being played and live horns. Just because for me, that's what really like enhances something. It really enhances it.
Yeah, well, that's probably that's why I was drawn to you too. I'm a old school girl over here when it comes to reggae, R&B, and everything, and that's why you can look at you at 20 years old and say you know the music. A lot of people at your age don't draw for the foundation, and when you're drawing for that, that shows like you're a real musician, vocalist, and that you are kind of combining that old school into you now. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah.
That's what people don't understand, that foundation there is really big, to bring that vibe back and that sound. So if you're listening to that, you're good. Like some of the stuff coming out nowadays, I don't like to knock music, but it's just not that quality that we that old school feel. It's so nice to have that.
It's very synthetic, like music nowadays, like great, like I love it. Like I love any type of music. I'm a huge fan of everything. Like I'm not a fussy person when it comes to music, but for me, it's like when I want to feel something, I'm instantly going to go and listen to stuff that was kind of created like pre-1980s, because there's something so real about the sound. Like for me, it's whenever the producer that I work with, Gray Hawken, we create something, we'll cut vocals and we'll lay the whole track down. And then I will say to him, like, yo, take the vocals off for a second. I just want to listen to the music. If I'd listen to the music and the music's not making me feel a way, it doesn't make me feel a type of emotion, I'll be like, yo, bro, we need to kind of like retweak this. Like this needs to be touched in a certain way that kind of enhances real feelings again. Like, because a lot of the stuff that we make is very electronic. Like we make a lot of stuff that's very electronic, but there has to sit on that still vibe of like it being a real sound again.
Yeah, I personally like the live sound. I know it's like you have, drums or whatever, but I just love live music. And like when you got those horns in there and everything, it's like, yeah, that's nice. It's just refreshing,
Yeah, no, 100%. I feel the same way. I feel the exact same way. It's so incredible.
Do you want to shout out anybody?
Yo, I just want to shout out everyone across the world. Like, I just hope that everyone's all good. Just because we're living in such a crazy time right now, that like health and, like well-being, especially like mental health, with given like the fact that I know, especially in England, I'm not entirely sure about Canada. Like I've spoken to a lot of people out there, but especially in England, in the circumstances that we're in, mental health is so important to everyone. And I just think, like that's my shout out for everyone across the world. Like I hope everyone's good physically, mentally, because that's what's important to us as people. Like at the end of the day, we're emotional beings, and it's so important to make sure that we're all good at every moment. So that's what my thing is. I just hope everyone listening is good and healthy.
Nice. I want everybody to go check out your videos. Send them to your YouTube channel because you have visuals for all the video songs. So let me know.
Yeah, so my YouTube is Vincent Darby. So it's Darby. And everything's there. Like I really wish that I could like start playing for you right now, but I also don't want to get attacked by a shoe by my mom for waking her up at like 2 a.m, or a neighbor. I just
who's flinging the shoe? Your mom's gonna fling a shoe? Is that what you said?
Probably, if I start singing this late.
Oh, if you sing. Oh no, you didn't have to sing. I want them to go check you out. You got it locked. You all that. They have to go check out official Vincent Darby.
Yeah.
So I got to thank you. I'm getting the warning that we're almost off air. I got to thank you for being on the show. Again, the EP's out. Go get it. He's got more works coming out. Still Here We Are is the video out now. Again, thank you for staying up late and being here on the Tanya Mullings Show.
Thank you.
I appreciate that.
Honestly, I really appreciate you even giving me this platform and this opportunity. I really, really appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. And I wish you all the best. I'll be following you and watching you. So again, all my viewers, thank you so much. This show can also be heard on the BarnBurner radio network on its 122 platforms. Please like the BarnBurner CA for all the news. BarnBurner, watch it, hear it, read it, download it, and live it. It's the Tanya Mullings Show here on the BarnBurner Network. See you next week. Have a blessed evening, all. Take care.